dude.
Okay.
Hi, this is Thomas DeFrancesco. I'm here with Aaron Port on March 9th. He is the founder of Ash Tree Productions, and he's here to tell me a bit about how he got into his business. All right, Aaron. How did you decide to start your own business?
Well, I graduated from college a couple of years ago, majored in marketing and film studies, and I knew I really wanted to get into film production. But I found it incredibly difficult to find any worthwhile creative job in the film industry, and I didn't want to sit idle, so I decided, meantime, I'll start my own production company.
So you took over the creative control. Very nice. How did you go about finding a location to run your business out of?
Well, actually, I don't have any permanent office right now, and so I'm just working out of my home. I developed a website and contacts through referrals and word of mouth, and I have all my equipment at home, and I have an editing studio there. And that's where I do the editing, and for shoots I go to different places.
So did it take you a large amount of capital to get your business going, or did you have any help, maybe some investors?
Actually, not particularly. I was in film production prior, and I had done a lot of film production in college, so I already had a good amount of equipment, and that's the main capital that's needed for film production, in addition to knowledge and experience. So I suppose a couple $100 in my own investments, in addition to the investments from my business partner. And that was the extent of the capital. And
Okay.
moving
Great.
on from that, with profits from the production, reinvesting back into the business with marketing and more equipment.
And so you travel around the country or around?
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
traveled to several places in Virginia and Florida, Kansas, D.C., and looking to grow the business nationally. Obviously, we don't have offices anywhere, so we have to have
Yep.
a certain location
Mhm.
somewhere. But it's we're trying to keep our options open as possible.
Great. So as you expand your business, do you have any marketing for them? How do you find new customers?
Well, essentially, we have a website and a word of mouth is what we've been working off of so far. We're hoping to expand it to something else, but that's been working pretty well because it's that's where we get most of our business is from previous clients.
Okay. So what is your website? Can you tell us your website name?
Well, my website name is www.aaronport.com. That's just my personal website. Where my business partner and I are actually going to be forming a company website here in the next couple months. Working on that right now.
Okay, great. Do you have any legal requirements, any legal issues, licensing types of restrictions that you had to put in place?
Unlike some professions like doctors or attorneys, we don't have any licensing requirements to be filmmakers.
Mhm. What about like intellectual property? Once you make a film, do you have to protect it?
Well, that is a big issue. But one of the biggest things we do have to worry about is releases for the people who are in films, and we have to make sure that everyone has agreed on paper to be in any promotional or documentary we produce, or they could sue us. And
Oh wow.
so yeah, for taking their likeness. So we need to. That's the biggest thing that we need to take care of. Obviously, making sure that we abide by intellectual property laws, and we're using only original content or Creative Commons content properly attributed.
Does that vary by state?
Not particularly.
Okay. Do you have any issues with internal or external theft with your employees or any of the job sites you work
To
on?
be honest, it's a partnership. There's two people in the business,
Mhm.
and so we haven't had any internal theft yet, and luckily we haven't had any external. What, have we had internal theft? Oh, okay. We haven't had any external theft either, luckily, but I guess we have to keep on the lookout for it. Essentially,
Okay.
just make sure that all of our equipment's safe and locked up, and keep track of it. I guess you could say I was in Europe a couple years ago, and I had my some camera gear stolen
Oh
when I
wow.
wasn't looking. So that was something.
So what would be the worst? You said you got some equipment stolen. What would be the the worst thing that's happened, the hardest thing maybe during your time in business?
My time in business.
Mm-hmm. Anytime you went to a shoot and it wasn't what it expected?
I would say two things. One, we've done a lot of work with children, and they're very difficult to work with because they're basically on board as much as you can get them excited. So that's luckily my business partner is she's very good with children, and that's very helpful. But the second, I'd say the most difficult thing is the business development aspect of it at the beginning, is finding and marketing yourself and positioning yourself in a way that people can recognize you, and that's been the most difficult thing so far.
Building credentials?
Absolutely.
Okay. We have a few more minutes. What would you give to somebody starting a business? What would you advise them to do? Did you make any mistakes along the way when you were developing that first plan? Maybe things you wish you had learned in college that you learned in the real world?
I think it would be wise to encourage people to. That's a good question. Let's get back to that. I don't really have any actual advice as of now, but I'm sure I will think of something.
Okay. Is there anything you're planning on changing in the way that you operate your business currently?
Right now, we're not exactly on we're on a professional level, but we're not exactly on a really high budget level. So we need to reinvest in some more equipment.
Any plan to step to get to that national level?
Well, I'm not necessarily national, but just expanding ourselves to be. Right now, we've been gearing mostly towards nonprofits and small businesses locally, and we've been able to outcompete our competitors solely on price. At least in terms of that's how I like to think we have a high quality product as well, but the price is what really drives our business. So if we can maintain that edge while increasing our resources, that's a challenge. That's our next challenge.
Alrighty. So, how does this affect your family?
My family. My family's been incredibly supportive. Because it's not exactly a stable job, at least not starting out. Luckily, we've been able to develop some business more recently, and so it's been looking like we've been going to be able to consistently make profit and support ourselves this next year. But this past year was a little bit more rough financially. So my family's been very supportive, but seeing as I've been out of college fairly recently, it hasn't been that big of an issue. I guess for my advice would be find a partner that excites you, that you want to work with, because you're not going to, at least for me, I would not be able to do this alone. Just having someone else that you believe in to work with is incredibly essential in not only improving your work, not only dividing the work, but also motivating yourself to move ahead.
So passion is a big part of it.
Passion is a big part of it.
Alrighty.
Finding someone who has similar passions as you and different passions can help drive your business forward.
So when you're out on the road, could you take me through maybe just a daily activity schedule? Like say you have somebody set up to meet. Do you usually walk them through what they're about to do on the film, or do you like to do it kind of, ad lib as it comes and just hope that something kind of...
Well, unlike how I'm conducting myself in this interview, I try to structure the way that we handle clients, just to give them a good understanding of what's going to happen, what my expectations of them, what they can expect of me. I'm not exactly sure how other people do it, actually, and I'd be very interested in knowing what other production companies do when they go in to meet a client. But my biggest thing is trying to have a client-centric pre-production process, and pre-production's anything that happens before shooting. Trying to make every decision Well, I guess this is if the client wants to be a part of this process, and sometimes the client wants you to just handle everything, and that's fine too. I can do that. But what I like to do is work with and collaborate with the client as much as possible, so there's no surprises. That involves a meeting, usually over lunch or something, and having a conversation about our expectations, and then outlining the project, and then kicking out our ideas for the project, and then solidifying some of those. And then only once those are solidified, then discussing the fee structure and the scheduling.
Sounds like you pretty much have a typical go-to plan. When you see somebody else's competition's videos, do you ever notice something that they do wrong?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I notice those in my videos too. So.
What would you say is the biggest flaw in your competition?
Well, I guess on the small scale local level, it would be not addressing client needs. It would be going in with a mindset of this is what the client needs prior to even discussing with them, and just giving them a package, a predetermined package, and instead of detailing or modifying each project based on what the client would best suit their marketing goals.
All right.
And I guess, for an example of that would be just a very standard commercial would be the client in front of a green screen, and then they just talk for 5 minutes, and then cut that and put some graphics behind them, and that's the whole thing. And there's really no individuality based on the production there. So in order for us to compete, we're using price and individualized production are the two things we're trying to focus on.
Quality.
Well, quality, right.
All right, Aaron. Well, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And that's all we have for today.
Thank you.